Good evening, Chair McCoy. I am checking that out right now. Running just a moment behind.
Okay, no problem. Take your time. Commissioner Barraza, you have on a black hat tonight? No white one?
Okay. This is winter time, so it's getting colder.
I'm just so used to seeing you in a white hat.
Yes, I had to wash it, so and I get my black hat.
Got it.
All
It
right.
looks good still.
Very
Just
observant, Madam Chair.
oh, me and Commissioner Barraza, we go back a long way, so I'm always used to seeing him in a white hat.
That's right.
And by my count, Chair McCoy, we do have a quorum. We have 5 out of the 9.
Okay. I'll give it a couple more, a minute or two to see if we have anyone logging on. Do we have Commissioner Parks and Commissioner Singh inside the chambers?
Oh, we have 6 and 7. So that will be all of them. I have heard that Commissioner Vang and Vice Chair Dolan will not be joining us. So with Parks and Singh in the chamber, we have 7.
All right. I now call this meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Commission to order. City Clerk, would you please take roll call?
Certainly. Commissioner Parks.
Present.
Commissioner Barraza.
Present.
Commissioner Singh.
Present.
Commissioner Cummings.
Present.
Commissioner Miller.
Present.
Commissioner Opuda.
Present.
Commissioner Vang, I believe, is absent. Vice Chair Dolan, I believe, is absent. And Chair McCoy.
Present.
7, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now begin the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand? Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you. We will now start with the approval of the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes or proposed changes to the agenda for tonight?
I have not received any changes to the agenda.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I have a question before we do that.
Sure.
I recall at the last meeting, we talked about when Commissioner Vang made the motion and then withdrew it to have a day where the park was free, that there was going to be information brought to us today as to what that looked like economically, but I didn't see that on the agenda. Is that a part of something that is on the agenda?
So Commissioner Apuda, Vang made a previous motion in October about the free entrance to regionals, which that passed with a majority vote. I believe the one where I was absent at the meeting, she discussed seniors entrance to the park and that being an option to have that free, but park staff does not have information to present tonight related to what the impact of that would be financially.
Thank you, Aldi.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I'll make a motion. This is Cummings to approve the agenda tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Do I have a second?
I'll second. This is Scott Miller.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. City Clerk, would you please do roll call?
Certainly. For approval of the agenda, motion by Commissioner Cummings, second by Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza.
Yes.
Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Opuda.
Yes.
And Chair McCoy.
Yes.
All right, 7-0, that passes.
Thank you. We will now move on to the approval of minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from November 7th, 2022 meeting?
I have received no changes to the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes. This is Cummings.
Thank you, Commissioner Cummings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. City Clerk, can you please conduct roll call vote, please?
Motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Cummings, second by Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Apuda,
Yes.
and Chair McCoy.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. We will now move on to subcommittees' reports. This item is a discussion item for the commission and no public comments will be taken related to this item. Does the Cultural Arts Plan Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to this commission?
Chair McCoy, this is Commissioner Parks. I'll just briefly mention that the Cultural Arts Plan Subcommittee will be meeting with representatives of NCAP next week, and I believe there will be a presentation to the commission in December, but I'm hoping Park staff can confirm that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the Parks Master Plan Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to this commission?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to point out that the process of reviewing chapters of the master plan is in motion, and we are starting, I believe, on the third chapter, so that members of the subcommittee can provide input. And I know that my colleague, Commissioner Cummings, may have other comments to add.
Thank you, Commissioner Barraza. Commissioner Cummings, any additional comments?
That's absolutely perfect. He's spot on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does the Outreach Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to this commission? We have no update at this time. We will now move on to member reports and comments. As a reminder, this is a time for commission members to report anything they feel important for the public or commission to know, but it's not a time for a discussion. Commissioner Barraza, do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
Madam Chair, I just think it's important for me to disclose to this commission that a while back when we started the work of this commission, we actually had an agreement between the City Parks Department and an organization that I used to head, which was Subsida. I'm no longer working as the CEO of Subsida. I'm still involved with the organization, but I also wanted to point out that the agreement we had in place with the city parks for the improvements of the 49-acre park site has ended probably about 6 months ago. So that kind of disconnects me in terms of a direct conflict of interest with that particular project. I wanted to disclose that, and at the appropriate time, I'd like to have the city attorney review that to make sure that we're doing things the correct way. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barraza. Dr. Apuda, do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
I have two comments. One, I just wanted to really give a shout out to the Cultural Arts Committee. I attended one of the online sessions, and it was just really well done. Mr. Pierce does such a good job, did a great job. It was so efficient and upbeat and just well run. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And then I also have, I guess, a request for the commission to consider that when we find that we have long meetings that go over 90 minutes, that maybe we will just automatically take a break. I just wonder if we would give some thought to that. Maybe take like a 7-minute break or something.
Absolutely, Dr. Apuda. And I just want to echo
Why are
your
you all
comments.
laughing?
I think it was something that we all wanted to say, but we just didn't say it. But thank you. And I also want to echo your comments. I attended the last workshop online and it was very upbeat. He was very energetic. A lot of residents in attendance, a lot of great input to the survey questions. Well-rounded. I was very satisfied with the responses and how many residents attended and just how engaged he kept us. Being on Zoom sometimes it tends to get a little bit, like, but he kept the energy going and he kept us very engaged. So I just wanted to echo your comments about that. Commissioner Cummings, do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
Not today, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Singh, do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
I do. I wanted to say that the November 12th, Saturday, JSK 5K event we held was a great success. Thank you to all of the organizations and the community members that came out. We had about 700 to 800 folks in attendance throughout the day. Just a huge shout out to the Parks Department that came out and had their games, and that was really nice. And thank you to District 3 staff to make it possible. And we're really looking forward to having a lot more community events to bring resources to the community in the future. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Parks, do you have any reports or comments?
Thank you, Chair McCoy. I do. First, I just wanted to acknowledge all of the folks who are here in the chamber tonight. Thank you for being here in person. It's great to see a full room, so that's awesome. And I also have a request for this meeting. I wonder if we can, for any motions that are made this evening, open up space for commission discussion before we turn it over to the city clerk for the roll call vote, just to make sure that we have opportunity to ask any questions and make any comments before the vote is actually taken. So I'm hoping we can do that during the hearing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller, do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you. And I think I got all the commissioners. We will now move on to city administration and park staff reports and comments. Does anyone from the administration have any reports or comments for the commission?
And real quick, I just want to point out to Todd, it looks like TJ from the administration may be logged on as an attendee. So I don't know if we can promote her.
I am on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Chair McCoy, Aaron and Gary, Parks Director, as we're waiting for Ms. Miller to come on. Nothing to report from the park side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair McCoy, Aldi Ramirez, Parks Assistant Director. To answer Commissioner Parks' question, yes, the Parks Department will be coming to a larger commission in December with a cultural arts plan update on the development. And then in terms of Commissioner Parks' second question about discussion before voting, that is a possibility, but before you start voting. So what isn't allowed is once you start saying yes, no, then breaking into conversation right there. So the conversation needs to occur before the votes occur. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Hi, TJ. Do you have any reports or comments for this commission?
Hi, thank you. And thank you, Christy. I was stuck as a member, which is not a bad thing. It's just I couldn't speak. I just wanted to thank you guys and let you know how much we're looking forward to this meeting this evening. The city administration works very diligently on the budget, and we're starting the FY24 process, just like you folks are with your recommendations. And so these are going to be critical parts that we can weave into our process. So thank you very much for all of your dedication. And thank you to the Parks Department. They've done an outstanding job the first half of this year, getting so many things going and so many outreach efforts. And there's more to come. The Senior Center outreach effort will be launching in January. So thank you.
Thank you.
Chair McCoy.
You got the floor, Aldi.
I just also wanted to say thank you to the commissioners for all of your attendance and participation in the events that we've had recently, whether it's cultural arts plan, the stakeholder meetings related to the highest need parks, etc. We really appreciate you all showing up and voicing your opinions and tapping into your networks.
Thank you. We will now move on to unscheduled communication. Would any member of the public like to speak on any issue within the jurisdiction of this commission? You will have up to 3 minutes.
Thank
City
you.
Clerk, do we have anyone in the chambers or online?
We do have people online and in the chamber. I'll start quickly with just letting the people in the chamber know we do have unscheduled communication going on now. We will also have the agenda item 12A to receive public input on allocations. You're welcome to speak during both. These cards don't have anything, so I'm going to call them during unscheduled communication. And if you would like to speak during the other one, let me know. All right, starting off on Zoom, we have Sylvester Hall. Sylvester, you may unmute yourself and address the commission. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I first of all just want to give praise to God Almighty himself. We're in troubling times. Just seems like we're all working so hard to do what's good. And we're trying to do what's good for mostly children and families. So I'm just excited about this time of the year. And I want to thank you all for your dedication and your sacrifice for the work, to try to make the program be more alive. You guys know I'm Sylvester McLean Hall. I am a principal 2500 MLK. We are the master developers of Village developed $520 million mixed complete neighborhood, transit-oriented project in Southwest Fresno, which is a component project of the 40-acre City College campus, also the 10-acre West Street Village Park under planning right now. And also we have 2 parcels on there for nonprofit buildings, Museum of Tolerance, Cultural, along with our Community Connected Impact and Resilience Center, which has over 15 different nonprofits under one building. And I just want to introduce that project to you. I think we sent a lot of information out to the commissioners. We've been planning that project for over 10 years alongside the City of Fresno, State Center College Community District, also the Parks Department as well, along with all of our community leaders. And so I just hope the commission has the time to look that information over. And during the later session, we'll have opportunity to make our budget proposal. Once again, I want to thank you all. Dedication and helping to dedicate your lives. I know most of you on this call, commissioners. I know most of you. You guys are all about good, making things better for others. I just wish you well, and I'm just thankful God has kept us all this time to work together.
Thank you, Sylvester. And next on Zoom, we have Darren Miller. Darren, you may unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello, commissioners. Dr. Darren Miller, lifelong resident of Fresno. This is my first opportunity to attend a meeting, although I get the notices on a regular basis. And I just wanted to come on to, and first of all, thank you for the work that you are embarking upon. Fresno is our home. Fresno is our city. Those of you who know me personally know that not only am I involved in the community, politics and those type of things, I'm also involved in athletics. Still as a high school and junior college referee with football and basketball and softball in the area. And so one of the things I want to encourage this commission is to shoot for the moon. And what I mean by that is I've had an opportunity to be able to go out and visit other cities, not only in California, but Phoenix, Dallas, other major metropolitan areas here. And we here in Fresno are woefully behind those other cities in some of the offerings, cultural arts offerings, as well as our parks and recreation offerings for our community. And so I'm encouraging this body to, like I said, shoot for the moon, reach above and beyond. Don't hesitate to go and visit some of the areas. One of the things I know that needs to be considered is that we have our age. We're no longer a baby boomer dominated community. Most of our young people now we have more people under the age of 40 now than we do over the age of 40 for the first time in the last 80 years. And so as we're making our plans moving forward, we want to make sure that we hear those voices, that we include those voices in what we're doing, to make sure that Fresno is as the fifth largest city in the state of California, that we are a vibrant entity that is welcoming to all people, making sure that we're keeping up with what their requests and their desires are. And so once again, I thank you for the time and energy and effort that you guys have put into this, and I will relinquish my time back.
Thank you very much. Next on Zoom, we have Lilia Gonzalez Chavez. Lilia, you may unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Good evening, Chairman Coy and members of the commission. I just wanted to say how much I have enjoyed participating and hearing about the community engagement process for the cultural plan. I've heard many great ideas that have come from that process, and I look forward to next steps. The community is very eager, and you could tell in many of the responses, they're eager to participate in identifying new programs and actually having those things begin. So again, thank you, commissioners, and thank you to city staff for all the work that obviously went into this process.
Thank you very much. And next on Zoom, before we move to the chambers, we have Joshua Sykes. Joshua, you may unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you. My name is Josh Sykes. I'm from Made in South LA, a project of CEDC. I was asked to come and speak on behalf of West Creek Village's Connective Impact Center, which is a collective of over 15 nonprofits, which will anchor the future West Creek Village development and serve the city of Fresno. I represent Marty as well, and we're responsible for bringing the first Best Buy Teen Tech Center to South Central LA. And we also train students in software engineering and multimedia. And several of our students have graduated into 6-figure salary positions in tech. We'd like to bring programming to the Fresno area and are excited to do so. One such project is the Marty Makers, which will provide an after-school STEAM educational program, workforce development, on-the-job training, job placement, and a sustainable revenue model for the city of Fresno. Our program curriculum is geared for middle school and up. And however, we also like to focus on giving 18 to 24-year-old youth priority as we are looking to position them for immediate career placement. Some of our boot camps include software engineering, web development, drone robotics, digital marketing, and more, with budgets ranging from $12,500 to $50,000 per boot camp. And with the ability to run annual boot camps in conjunction with Marty, we're able to create what we call super tech soldiers to hire within our creative agency and able to expand services to the greater Fresno area. And I just like to thank you guys for your time and allowing me to introduce myself on behalf of the West Creek Village Connective Impact Center, Marty, and CEDC. I thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much. And moving into the council chamber, first card that I have is from Michelle. And when you get to the podium, please say your name, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
My name is Michelle Ellis Pracy, and I'm the Executive Director and Chief Curator at the Fresno Art Museum. And I would like to echo what Lilia Chavez said. We are so grateful for the Commissioner's work over these months. The last time I was in the chamber was to lobby for Measure P, which was quite a while ago. We were all wearing our T-shirts, and we packed the chamber, and it was so exciting. And then when the tax initiative didn't come through in the beginning, we were so disappointed, but then it was looked at again, and here we are. So thank you for working as you do for all of us. I haven't met most of you yet in person, but I hope to in the next few months, and I really feel like we're gearing up now. I met with Oliver Nell with NCAP over the phone and was interviewed by him. I attend every one of your meetings by Zoom, even though I don't voice anything in those meetings. But Lilia Chavez has encouraged me to come tonight and ask that you consider a proposal for me in the Measure P plan. It will be 1B. Funds in this paragraph shall be made available for the improvement, restoration, rehabilitation, operations, and maintenance of projects and programs, including but not limited to the following: city-owned arts, cultural, and recreation facilities. The Fresno Art Museum is 74 years in the same spot at First and Clinton, and we are not in Radio Park, but we are certainly butted up against Radio Park.
City Clerk, can you pause?
City Clerk, can you? Thank you. Sorry about that, ma'am.
What did I do? Did I do anything?
No, it
bad?
wasn't you. It was-
Okay. And so in light of perhaps qualifying for this 46% of funds available for this purpose to support improvements of a city-owned building, we have a lease with the city through 2044 for $1 a year, and I think we've paid up. So what we would like to propose is that part of this funding help us build a fence around the apron to the front of our building. The neighborhood has degentrified over time, and the park has a homeless issue that impacts people who come to visit our building. And we would like to build a fence that we could lock up at night. There are people now that are lighting fires at our front door. We have a portico above our apron, and we do have it lit all night. We do have security cameras that have been used by the police frequently. But we would love to have an additional protection for the building at night. We have $13 million worth of art stored in that building, 5 vaults that we've collected over the last 50 years, and we hold it in trust for the community. And it's really concerning when we come in the morning and we're sweeping out glass and we're picking up garbage, and the city's been very responsive to us lately. Oh, darn it, 3 minutes are up. Anyway, I am part of the Radio Park Rehabilitation Committee. They met at the building. We are having an event on December 13th, and we hope that all of you will come. It's a community meeting, and I would love to meet you and banter about more concepts. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next person in the chamber will be Jack Wilkinson.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Jack Wilkinson. I'm on the board of Fresno County Disc Golf. I hope everyone knows what disc golf is, sometimes commonly called Frisbee golf. If you don't, I'll fill that in later. I've had a problem with communications, and that's really what I'm asking for this evening. Just someone help me with communication with the city. 3 issues. I've been asking and trying to work with the Fresno Metropolitan Flood Control District, the Parks Department, the council member from that district. You may know the ponding basin at Barton and Ashland, right along 168. It's grass. I've been trying to get someone to work with me to try to let us turn that into a disc golf course. I get talk, I get no action. The Parks Department didn't have time when I've talked to them. The council member didn't do anything. The city has to move on that. Because that property belongs to the Fresno Metropolitan Fresno District. There has to be an agreement made. Our club, Fresno County Disc Golf, will help with the funding. It will literally cost the city nothing to do it. That's number one I've had communication with. The other one is there's a disc golf course out at Woodward Park. We want to replace one of the concrete tee pads because it unfortunately had gotten broken, mostly because That area of the park has no water, so they take a tanker out there and they drive on that tanker, that water, and break off the corners of the T-pad. We wanted to put one in. We were just going to sneak it in. Finally, they said, you need to get a permit. We've gone for a permit, and guess what? The person responsible for that will not respond to us. We can't get a permit to put us to spend our money to fix that one. The other one is one disc golf, but it's a whole realm of things, and it relates to the image of the city of Fresno, and that is something called Senior Games. I don't know how many you've heard of it. Maybe it's been discussed before. It's not any one sport. Disc golf could be one, darts could be one, golf, track and field. I mean, it's endless. Pickleball, cornhole, all of them. I've been trying to find someone that would work with me on that to get it started. I finally got some response, and I have met someone that's in the senior department. When I went and met with her and shared all the information, she said, well, I'm really busy. Maybe 6 months I can talk to you about it. I really would like someone to help me get some numbers, some names of people I can talk to, so maybe I could help that move along. That's all I'm asking for. It's not directly related to parks in the sense of asking for any money. I just need some help to make some movement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next person in the chamber will be Jesse Gallardo. You'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello. I'm here to talk about the Dream Again project, and it is a youth program. It's like 18 to 25. Just like, I forgot who was talking about his own program up there, but similar to his, and they put us into these programs and get us job placements and like work experience, and yeah. I just want to speak in favor of it because, it's really, it's really important to me because it's like it gives me like the sense of security, and I don't know. I would just really hope to keep the program running up, and to keep the funding up because, it's really hopeful to me, and I hope to stay in it, for as long as I can, and get the most out of it. I don't really have anything more to say except that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And next up, we have Braxton Berkeley. You'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hi, like you heard, I'm Braxton. Sorry if I'm a little awkward. Kind of like what Jesse said earlier, I'm here to talk in favor of the Dream Again program to kind of get that grant.
Excuse me, Braxton, we
Sorry.
can't hear you. Can you speak up a little bit, please? Thank you.
Sorry, is this better? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I talk kind of low. Like I was saying, was like kind of here, Dream Again project, and we were kind of hoping like to get the $10,000 grant, so we kind of do other things. Like we're like a project that focuses on video, dance, and music production, so we wanted to be able to go off-site. And with the way currently it's running, it's not currently feasible. So we was hoping that we go over and like go off-site to film like movies, films, short films, and stuff like that. Whatever we get hired for. So for me, Dream Again is like it helped me like out of high school. I really wanted to make music, and it made that possible. It made like me have a path to where I can actually pursue it and actually get experience, work with people who are in the industry, know how it works and stuff like that. And I feel like it's a really good thing that can help benefit Fresno, like people who are out of school and don't really know what they want to do with their life but have an interest in something. I feel like Fresno could really thrive and have a good industry with that. And I feel like it's a good path forward for our like culture. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. And next we have Concy Chappelle Cole. You'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello. All right. My name is Kanye Chappelle Cole, and I'm here to talk about the Dream Again project. And, well, it's sort of a program for all youth and anybody who has a drive for ambition to get themselves off their feet and into an environment where they are most comfortable with how they share and produce the projects and ideas on their head, and they can come into an environment where all suggestions are welcome and they can, you know, expand their creativity and be introduced to a better form of confidence in how they, you know, work. Because, you know, with most youth nowadays, we are, you know, locked in and we don't really put much work into our achievements. You know, we want to, you know, live life fast and stuff like that, but the Dream Again project is to help people, help the youth mainly to slow down and evaluate their options and to make sure that they have pathways they can go to and all sorts of stuff like that. And for mainly right now, the Dream Again project focus on people who like music and stuff like that. They like to make films and scripts and write plays and make entertainment pretty much. And that's it's really keen on that. It's really wants to push the creativity of younger people into the world pretty much, and that will help them with, you know, putting themselves out there naturally with like careers and things like that, because they also teach how to set yourself up for a career pretty much, to make sure that you have all the resources you need for achieving your dreams pretty much. And I want to emphasize on that because, you know, at one point, you know, I was really down on my confidence. You know, I wanted to do more with the work that I did, and the Dream Again project helped me with that. And it really opened my eye to how much opportunity there is with little things that I work on from time to time. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about it.
Thank you, Kanye. And last card that I have is for Hersey Stovall. Probably should have called you first. You'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Well, I thank everybody. My name is Hersey Stovall. The Dream Again project is a project that I started 5 years ago, and these young people wanted to make sure that they showed up today to support the idea of getting funded to be able to continue utilizing the training that they have been given through the Dream Again project. I really appreciate these young men standing up, being strong like they are, and this is their first time being before people like this, and this is probably my third time. But we're just so grateful for the opportunity to be here and to share this amazing experience. And we're just looking for some funding to help us continue. We are working with EOC, and EOC does help a few of our participants by paying them hourly wages. We only have 200 hours with each kid that comes, and basically that's enough to actually get them started, but it's not enough to sustain them to continually stay involved. And that's the big goal for me, is that there's funding available to keep them involved. I would love it for it to be a year, but I would even take 6 months as a way to keep them engaged. It has been a great journey, a great opportunity, and it really means a lot to know that you are able to reach some of the young people, and it's making a difference. By being involved for the time that I have been, it has made a big difference, and I'm really proud of the Dream Again project, and I just hope that the Park and Recreation could see that this program is a good prevention, as well as prevention for youth that are gang-related or not gang-related. I pride myself with focusing on kids who haven't chose to be in part of a gang, and I feel that they're entitled to get some great praises as well, because they didn't choose and they kept their grades up and they did all the right things. And so I'm really grateful that we will be able to hire them and keep them engaged in a great project. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And I'll remind people in the chamber, we do have yellow cards in the front with pencils, and you can fill it out and drop it in the box there. And we're moving back to Zoom. Next up, we have Cassie Betts. You may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello, thank you. Yes, my name is Cassie Betts. I was asked here by Sylvester of West Creek Village Connective Impact Center. I am also representing Marty Makers. Marty, we are a creative agency. First of all, I would just want to say, Dream Again Project. I am so moved by you guys. I hear you. I work with youth in South Central. So I am in support of that. Please hit me up after. I'm at InstaBets on Instagram, and we can make some things happen with you guys. So we have a sustainable revenue project that we would like to bring to Fresno with West Creek Village and Community Economic Development Corporation. CEDC is actually a real estate development firm. And so we're looking to do the smart city overlay with all of our developments. And here in Fresno, particularly, as Josh Sykes spoke about, we're looking to have this sustainable revenue model where we train the youth in some of the things that the Dream Again project was talking about. So multimedia and technology, and we already do this. We have piloted it out. We've been doing it for years. We have youth as young as 10 that build websites for the local community. We have youth that go and they do content creation for small businesses. And so this is the revenue model. So we get investors like yourselves or some of the people on the call. They invest in the program in general, and then a percentage of the revenue generated by the local community in training the students to go from boot camps to actual on-the-job training to actual careers. Some of that revenue is used to just reinvest into the program. So that we can continue the program and not have to, beg for money, because I don't know about y'all, but I don't like doing it. But I do like making money. I was actually, I grew up for a small time in Fresno as a little girl. Never thought that I would be a software engineer. Never thought that I would have a multi-million-dollar tech company, an agency, hiring youth, hiring people throughout the world to do good things. All of the projects we take on our social impact projects. All of us are like engineers gone rogue, and we just want to focus on, building generational wealth within communities like Fresno and other disinvested and underestimated communities. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me on this call.
Thank you very much. And next speaker on Zoom is Michael Lynn Lewis. You may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Yes, good evening. I'm not sure if this is the portion where I'm supposed to go, but a while back I did pitch for a public arts display that hopefully, as I'm listening to some of the people before, this will actually generate revenue to the city of Fresno that could possibly fund a lot of these programs in the future. The public arts display is based on other displays that have been in major cities like New York, Chicago, Austin, in which you have a life-size figure that would represent the city and have professional artists be commissioned to go ahead and decorate them. They would be displayed throughout the city or just along maybe even Fulton Street, where tourists would come in to view them. This project has, for the city of Chicago, generated something like $3 million and increased tourism by about 200 to about 2 million for one summer in particular. And I would like to maybe just expand on it. I think my initial cost on this would be about $20,000, but the return investment would be, phenomenal if we get this thing right. So I would like to figure out what the next step would be in order to give this more display. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I do have preliminary reports on it, and I'd be happy to share it with anybody on the commission in the future. Thank you.
And thank you very much. And next on Zoom, we have Dr. Kenneth Jones Jr. You may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. I'm Dr. Kenneth Jones again. West Creek Village Connective Impact and Resilience Community Center is one of the main reasons I'm on the call today. Just to promote the fact that having a bunch of entities under the same roof to help our community is something that's needed in West Fresno. My company is Handle Helping Hands. We have a mental health program and an IT program. We did a summer camp in Fresno, a drone summer camp. We have a quantum UAV drone academy, and we serviced over 100 students. We have a 3-year pathway that teaches mechanical and electrical engineering and entrepreneurship. We also have a cybersecurity program that is A through G approved. We have an A+ computer repair and computer and service repair program as well. So being in front of the technology, being in front of technology is important, and drones are the future. So with our technology programs, I'm just wanting you guys to make sure that Handle Helping Hands is in the conversation when you guys start distributing your funding, because we're really helping the youth, underserved communities and underprivileged communities in Fresno. I'm born and raised in Fresno, California. Our programs, we've been doing them since 2003 in Fresno, but we've been funding them ourselves and working hard to give our youth these skills right there in Fresno, California. It don't matter if you're from the West Fresno, East Fresno, we're just trying to help the youth get ahead of technology, because technology is a future. I'm also a clinical psychologist, so we have a youth mental health mentorship program where we teach about stigma, anger management, suicide prevention awareness, conflict resolution, which is big. You know, our youth today, they don't know how to resolve their issues. So conflict resolution is a big one, and other programs for mental health as well. So again, we're one of the companies, Handle Helping Hands, that'll be a part of the West Creek Village Connective Impact and Resilience Community Center from a mental health perspective and a technology perspective. So that's all I have to say, and I appreciate your time. And that's my fast speak for 3 minutes. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much. And next on Zoom, we have Lisa Flores. Lisa, you may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for this moment in time to speak with you. Unfortunately, everybody has been so positive. I guess I'm going to have to counter that with some cautionary advice and some great concern over some comments that Council Member Arias made at a recent council meeting in regards to Chaffee Zoo's expansion, their footprint that they already have, and now they want to build 2-3-story parking complexes within the park, and they really do not belong there. Years ago, I requested, documents and being outreach when they did their expansion. Nothing ever came. There have been very bad neighbors to those of us that are day users of the park. Chaffee's great if you want to go see a zoo. I'm not that person, and that's okay. But I do have a problem with them bringing in I have a problem with them bringing in a parking structure within the park, but I have a bigger problem when you have a council member who's already, seems to me, has cut deals for financing, and I'm just wondering if Measure B funding is going to go in to help construct those and degrade the park with the added pollution. Also, too, you should know that years ago, I did a traffic study because I am a retired transportation planner with the state of California, and I know how to do, a site traffic study. I know how to do counts. I know how to know when the park is impacted. With only 14 days out of 365 that park is ever impacted to the point of being closed down. Of those 14 days, you may have 7. Of that, there is no parking plan that Chaffee Zoo and the city said to us that they would provide. It has now been, 5, 6, 7 years, and there's still no parking plan, yet they plan to put parking structures inside their footprint of leased land inside a historical park. When across the street, the city owns land that they could put that structure there, better the crosswalk, and not put a children's school in an area which is surrounded by pollution, by 2 rail lines and 2 highways. And what really disturbs me, it seems like there's a lot of backroom dealing with the council member and also possibly with money coming through Measure P. So I have great concern for that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lisa. And next on Zoom, we have Janice Matherin. Janice, you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. My name is Janice Matherin Boyd, Director of Operations at West Fresno Family Resource Center. I am calling to support the West Creek Village Connectivity Impact Community Center. We feel that this particular center will provide, physical along with community, social, economic, and cultural programming and services that will ensure that all programs and services of the West Creek Village Development Project area are fully, completely available and integrated. Some of my partners, Dr. Jones, did mention the opportunity for integrated programs and services in the community of Southwest Fresno, eliminating fragmentation of services that community members can benefit from. And so I hope that the Measure P funding will consider application from the West Creek Village Connectivity Impact Community Center. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next on Zoom, we have Pedro Navarro Cruz. Pedro, you may unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello, good evening to everybody. My name is Pedro Navarro Cruz. I'm a District 3 resident here in the city of Fresno. I did want to uplift some of the recommendations that CNC's Fresno Park Advocates United had previously supported and asked for, and those include a participatory budgeting engagement process, which, to remind folks, this was one of the recommendations that came about the 2020 Commission on Police Reform. This is meant to be a way to engage residents and for residents to come up with great ideas like the ones being presented today, but have a platform to democratically get these ideas implemented instead of just having to wait after year after year. But at $5 million is what's suggested to conduct a proper process. And yeah, it would just do so much to transform the city of Fresno. Another idea is the youth fee waiver voucher program, which we're still waiting on to get implemented. But for this year, I would like to see in very specific language distinguishing the 2 different approaches as far as like having parks benefit from this, but also outside organizations and companies that do programs for youth. And so I would like to see $600,000 and that money divided $300,000 for parks and another $300,000 for somewhat of a grant program for organizations to benefit from. Also, and for the sake of being able to include people in a strategic, inclusive way, I would like to see a $75,000 to conduct a representative sample survey. This is more of a controlled way to see what the community's needs and wants are. A good example of this you could find if you go to fresnotable.org. Some local organizations actually had a question on Measure P, and it's very contrary to what the last update that I was able to hear, and as far as the Measure P implementation survey. So it's just a more controlled way to actually see what people actually think versus not having a good outreach program and getting flawed results. There's a lot of other ideas as far as implementing, just trying to look into where we can have more indoor gymnasiums. The summers are very bad. Luckily, we didn't really have much of a fire season this year, but one idea that folks came up with was looking into the Bitwise Beehive. There used to be a gymnasium there that the community would use, but maybe figure out some kind of partnership where that can become a temporary or a future gymnasium with a partnership between the city and Bitwise. That's all I wanted to share today, but thank you all for the opportunity to speak.
Right at 3 minutes. Thank you very much. And the next person on Zoom is Navdeep Kaur. Navdeep, you can unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello, thank you. My name is Navdeep Kaur, and I'm here in Fresno, Northwest Fresno, and I am calling to show support for a cricket field. I'm in the Punjabi community. Well, I belong to the Punjabi community, and we've been asking for a cricket field for over a decade now. I'm not sure if Balev already went, but he's been leading that for over a decade now. And we were really hopeful last year to get that, but there was no funding allocated for any cricket field along with hockey or volleyball field. But we are hoping that the softball field at JSK Park would be repurposed into a cricket field since it's not really being used for softball. I was just there about a week ago, and I saw there were men from our community playing cricket there on the softball field. So they kind of repurposed it themselves, but it would be nice to have a real cricket field. Other than that, if one of the 8 soccer fields in the regional sport complex could be repurposed to a cricket field, that would be amazing because there's a lot of community members that go play on that side of Fresno as well. So we would like to ask for $250,000, which is not a lot. It's literally dollars based on the budget that Parks has. So just $250,000 for repurposing these fields for cricket fields so that our community can use it for the decades to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we have no more hands on Zoom at the moment. Let me come back to the chamber. We have MJ Williams. MJ, you may address the commission and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair McCoy and commissioners. My name is MJ Williams. I am the Vice President of Handle It Helping Hands, which is a local nonprofit organization. I apologize in advance. I'm going to repeat a lot of stuff that Dr. Jones already said, but I didn't know he was going to be speaking, and I spent a lot of time on this. So, we are a local nonprofit organization. We offer STEM educational programs for youth, which includes a stellar drone piloting and engineering academy. It aims to create mechanical and electrical engineers as well as scientists out of our youth. Our president, Dr. Kenneth Jones Jr., is not only an engineer, but also a clinical psychologist that offers multiple mental health and wellness services. I am here to support the West Creek Village Master Plan Development Project, as well as the Connective Impact Community Center. I would like to encourage the commission to partner with our multiple CBOs, artists, and other business partners as we continue to develop and implement the vision for this wonderful planned community built around the brilliantly designed park led by Mr. Sylvester Hall. We also have a Home Buyers Academy that's developed by MK Enterprises that will be starting next month at Vision View Business Formation Center in the Airport District. And this will be to help get our underserved and underrepresented residents qualified to be property owners when these new housing developments come to fruition in the Southwest Fresno area, and help them start building generational wealth through homeownership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have no more cards with me. Is there anybody else in the chamber that would like to address the commission? No other hands at the moment. And all the hands on Zoom have spoken, so we are finished with unscheduled communication.
Thank you, City Clerk. We will now move on to hearings. ID number 22-1278, hearings to receive public input on allocations related to Measure P, updates to the Parks Master Plan and Cultural Arts Plan, and annual Parks Department budget and capital improvement plans. Would any member of the public like to make a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 3 minutes.
And the first hand on Zoom is Lisa Flores. Lisa, you may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
First, for my apologies. When I previously spoke, I thought this is where we were at because I came in late tonight. Once again, I would like to remind you of what the city is planning to do with Chaffee Zoo, and they're looking at creative funding of how they could help build those parking structures in the park. The other thing also, too, I want to remind you of is during the TCC process, I participated in that in the hopes of obtaining, the city would go for a TCC grant to do a Roading Park specific plan to deal with all the issues to the neighborhood that is on the other side of Belmont, and also to deal with the Kmart parking, Kmart lot there as far as the future growth of the park and expansion, since I've always known that Caltrans wanted to close the ramps on Belmont off. Now that supposedly is occurring. Anyway, back to my real issue here is I really do not want to see one single dime of Measure P money go into anything that is going to support the Chaffee Zoo. They went for Measure Z. They have specific earmarked money. Parking has been an issue, but it's only been an issue 14 days out of 365. The city and Chaffee Zoo are both negligent in not providing the parking plan. I've asked for it at public meetings. I've asked for it from city council members. I've even walked into Ace Parking and have never received it in over the 5 years that I've been asking for it. The city has also been negligent at Roading in regards to safety of day users going in and out of that park by not providing adequate police for dealing with the traffic that backs up all the way to the off-ramps, both on Belmont and on Olive, in which I've called for assistance and nobody ever shows up. So, I just look at the fact that I do not want Measure P money going into to a nonprofit that is taking my park, not enhancing my park. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And next on Zoom, we have Sylvester Hall. Sylvester, you may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you again, Mr. Clerk. Commissioners, once again, I'd like to thank you. I didn't point out the fact that I'm a 5-year-old Southwest Fresno boom. I spent 50 years of my life preparing Southwest Fresno and turned the neighborhood. My partnership, I only okay with myself, Mr. Shahadi, we were really great.
Sylvester, I'm going to pause your time real quick just to let you know you are cutting in and out just a bit. If you can move to a different part of the room or something where your signal is a little bit stronger, I'm going to go ahead and resume you now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just wanted to point out our partnership at 2500 MLK, Mr. John Shahadi, Jim Shahadi, Steve Shahadi, Shahadi, and spent the last 10 years working with Parks and Recreation. The group that called in earlier, we met with the Parks Department, Fresno Unified School District the last couple of weeks, trying to get everyone all the information about our project that we worked on. Hopefully a lot of that planning information got to the community. And if it did, you guys fully understand the capacity of what we've done in Southwest area and working with State Community College, 40-acre campus, $88 million campus, $20 million when we got involved, now $88 million. We have the city park that we helped bring to the city of Fresno, and now we're going to help them enhance it with all these great amenities, building a $12 million museum, a $15 million community center. We just finished our contract with the home builder to build 136 quality homes along Martin Luther King. We're under contract to build a neighborhood Starbucks center across from Gaston. We have to start construction of that next year. We have 1 year to have it built out. And so we just have all these wonderful components that are totally under construction and design and are scheduled to be under construction by next year and much completed by 2024 and 2025. So we would just like for the commission to recommend to Parks, Recreation, and Arts Commission to recommend to Parks and Master Plan and Cultural Arts Plan and Annual Parks Department budget and capital improvement plans be updated to include the funding in the fiscal year 2024 budget, future phases of the West Creek Village development, Martin Luther King Park amenities listed in our Master P proposal that we provided to the commissioners last week. I'd also like the commissioner to recommend Measure P fiscal year 2024 funding for the American Museum of Art and Cultural Tolerance Amphitheater Performance Stage, along with the Community Connected Impact Center and Resilience Center, 500-seat auditorium and component of Connected Impact's Resilience. And we'll provide the other $12 million. We need the park to step up and the city of Fresno to step up and do it. We just want to thank you, commissioners, for your sacrifice and your courage. We admire your bravery, and we thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. And next on Zoom, we have Alan McEwen. Alan, you may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello, thank you. My name is Alan McEwen. I am speaking as a member of Fresno Area Pickleball. We're very excited that funding for environmental and design work for permanent pickleball courts at 3 city park sites is included in the fiscal year 23 the city budget. It's time now to move on to the construction phase for each of these 3 projects. The sites are Rotary East Park, Vinland Park, and Woodward Park. At your October 17th commission meeting, the City Parks Department identified the construction phase for all 3 of these park sites as fiscal year 24 budget needs. They're shown in the agenda item for that meeting. It was ID 22-1607 on pages 16, 20, and 26. It's time now to move these projects from needs to budgeted projects in fiscal year 24 budgets. So I'm speaking tonight requesting that this commission include construction for these 3 project sites, permanent pickleball courts, in your recommendations to the City Council for inclusion in the fiscal year 24 Fresno City budget. I want to mention some critical points supporting our request. Installing these projects will address a major shortfall in the Fresno City Park system. Currently, there are no permanent pickleball courts in any of the 100+ Fresno City parks. With these permanent pickleball courts installed, Fresno citizens can play for free anytime the parks are open. Currently, The situation is they can only play during the times that our Fresno area pickleball group schedule activities when we manually set up temporary net equipment, or by individuals purchasing their own net equipment. In fact, last year in your own public survey on question number 4, what facilities are most needed, pickleball was identified as number 3 out of the 12 that were actually listed. Permanent pickleball courts are already available all around us in Fowler, Selma, Hanford, Visalia, and Bakersfield. So pickleball players are around the Fresno area continually amazed that a city of this size has no permanent pickleball courts currently available. Also, District 6 Council Member Gary Bredefield has expressed support for permanent pickleball courts at East Rotary Park, and District 4 Council Member Tyler Maxwell has done the same for Vinland Park. Our Fresno area pickleball meetup site currently has over 1,200 registrants. So the demand is there, and it continues to grow in Fresno for this particular sport. Pickleball is a healthy activity played by everyone from school-age children to our senior citizens are served. I just wanted to mention, in closing, close the gap is what we're looking for in availability of permanent pickleball courts. So please include construction funding for these permanent pickleball court sites in the Commission's recommendations to the City Council for inclusion in the fiscal year 24 budget. And I wanted to give thanks for the commissioners and the staff that have been working on this Measure P program. Lots of dedication, and we're very happy about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen. And next on Zoom, we'll be moving to the chamber in just a moment. Next on Zoom, we have Baldev Burke. Baldev, you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me the time to speak to you all. I was hoping that I could show it in video, but looks like I'm unable to. So currently there is under the city's adult sports program, we got cricket league going on. So we currently have 75 participants, 5 different teams that are playing. And wanted to make a point that we started this about 10 years ago, asking the city for resources to have cricket fields. Currently, there are 0 cricket fields within the city of Fresno. We've been asking for it for years and years and years. This particular program that I'm talking about, we just did it to show the city that there's an appetite for cricket, and currently we're utilizing a baseball field at Inspiration Park to make this happen. So it is very easy as far as the cost is concerned. We're asking for 2 fields, one at JSK Park. The baseball field is not being utilized, and if that could be turned into a cricket pitch. Now, I've talked and worked with the parks department for the last 5 years. We even went out there, did measurements to show that there was enough space to make this happen. And the same thing occurred at the sports complex on Jensen and West. So these 2 fields would definitely help out the growth of cricket in Fresno, which already exists. So currently we're having to travel to the Bay Area to play some of our organized games. And I've spoken at the other parks, Measure P meetings as well as the parks meeting. I just want to hope that this commission takes on this project to provide some funding for Fresno, because I have a feeling if we do not get it done through this Measure P, it may not happen. I may be waiting another 10 years. In the meantime, this sport is growing in the Valley. It is already the 2nd biggest sport in the world. And I would hope that the city of Fresno recognizes, and the Parks Department definitely recognizes, that this is something that is needed in the community. Right now, west of 99, 22% of the people, the survey showed themselves to be Southeast Asian, majority of them being from the Indian subcontinent, where cricket is very popular. You can currently go to any of the parks of west of 99 and see cricket being played during the day. They're utilizing the baseball field, softball field, which is only 1/4 of what a cricket field would be. So imagine trying to play volleyball but only using 1/4 of the court, or playing tennis and only using 1/4 of the court to play. So I would hope that the commissioners here really take a look at cricket. It is an amazing sport. I welcome you all to come and watch it in person if you like. The league takes place Monday evenings from 6 to 10 p.m. We play 3 different games for 6 teams, and it's played at Inspiration Park every Monday if you'd like to learn more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And next speaker on Zoom is Michael Lynn Lewis. You may unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Hi, yes. Again, I would just like to, I heard the participant or the speaker talk about putting a fence around Radio Park, around the Fresno Art Museum. And I noticed that fences are going up all over the place, and they are to protect the property against the homeless. And I was wondering if there may be a way to develop a program to incorporate those people who are homeless, but who could help keep the parks up, keep them going. They are citizens of the city, and they should be included in helping to maintain our parks so that we can all use them properly and have a good time. I fear that our town is becoming a city of fences everywhere. And I would just like to, my idea of parks is something that are open and usable for everybody. If you're walking down the street and maybe want to just sit down under a shade tree for a minute, that would be great. You don't have to go through a fence or have to look through a fence to see the beauty of a park. So I'm wondering if a program could be developed to somehow help the homeless, help keep our parks maintained, and so we can all use them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on Zoom, we have Navdeep Kaur. You may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm back. I just want to reiterate what Baldev said, to please allocate some money towards the cricket field. I know someone else had mentioned about pickleball earlier, which is great. You know, I'm glad to see that a lot of people play that, but they did receive money, which they did not mention this past, budget. And so, which is great. Again, if there's a demand for it, they should receive more. But before we go on to doing pickleball, there's also a need for a hockey field, cricket, and volleyball field. So if we could at least get 1 or 2 of those out there in the community for community members who play that, and then go back to funding pickleball, please. I'm requesting that. Again, we are only requesting $250,000, which is very doable within the budget that the Parks Commissioner does have. Other than that, I do want to support the lady that just went before me. I think that is a great idea. Fences are not what's going to build our community or, protect our community or create a safe home. So, and if there is some sort of program that we could come together for the houseless folks who are houseless, so that would be great. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And next on Zoom, we have Emma Sultan. Emma, you may unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm the president of Fresno Area Pickleball, and we have over 250 members in our organization, and there's probably another 300 to 500 players in the greater Fresno area. So the need for permanent courts is tremendous, and the outpouring of support from people who are playing throughout the community should encourage the commissioners to fund the construction phase of these projects. Pickleball, as many of you probably have heard, is the fastest growing sport in the country. It's played by people of all ages, from seniors to young people, all genders, and all socioeconomic situations are are easily taken care of because it's a relatively inexpensive sport to play. All our venues are free to anyone who wants to come out and play. And so the interest has just grown exponentially over the last 3 years. So again, I won't take too much of your time, but I would encourage the commission to move forward with the construction funding for these projects, which will enhance a tremendous group of people in the Fresno area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And moving into the chamber, first up, we have Jeffrey Neville. You have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you. It's Jeffrey Neville, and I'm here asking if there's a time frame for the RFP or the RFQ for the Tower Theater, as far as if they're going to be making an announcement on who's going to be running that at all. So I appreciate you guys doing what you do, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And next in the chamber, Hershey Stovall.
Once again, I'm Hershey Stovall, and I have something for you to view.
And Commissioner McCoy, can you see my screen? I'm just making sure I have this going correctly.
No, I can't see anything yet.
All right, just 1 second. I'll get this up and running just right. Too many buttons. All right. You should see a video.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
We can't hear it though.
No sound, you said?
No sound.
Aha. 2 more seconds here. Let's see. Oh, on this. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Commissioner. I think if I change these settings, you might not be able to hear. The advanced sharing options. It's not there. Hersey, let me ask you about the sound. Can you talk over so our commissioners can hear what's going on? You want to narrate for us?
Oh, well, we can give that a shot.
All right. Hersey's being a very good sport. He will be narrating as the video is playing.
Okay, what you have here.
The Dream Again project is a program designed to awaken young minds, encouraging them to chase their dreams in
Maybe you
ways
can
that
hear it
otherwise
through
wouldn't
the
be possible,
speakers that's
giving
coming
them
through the
opportunity
microphone
to
right now.
sharpen their skills while gaining experience in their desired field, reminding them that anything is possible, giving them the opportunity to dream again.
How is that working?
So I apologize. We did not get the audio part squared away.
But if they can hear me, they should be able to
They
hear
can
that, right?
definitely hear you, but we have echo canceling microphones. So
Okay, I got you.
might have a solution real quick.
I thank you so much.
Let's give this one last go. Oh, understood. Oh, Okay, we'll give that a quick shot. We are multiple. Ah, there's share sound. You're a genius, sir. Thank you very much. All right.
The Dream Again Project is a program designed to awaken young minds, encouraging them to chase their dreams in ways they otherwise wouldn't see possible, giving them the opportunity to sharpen their skills while gaining experience in their desired field, reminding them that anything is possible, giving them the opportunity to dream again. Our program is divided into 3 categories: music, dance, and film. In our music program, we take students through the key steps of creating music, such as music production, audio engineering, vocal training, and stage performance, taught by popular figures currently working within the music industry. Within our dance program, we teach students a number of styles, including hip-hop, jazz, lyrical, and contemporary, but also touching on any other styles students may need to have under their belt to be audition ready. Taught by a team of industry professionals with almost a century of experience combined. In our film program, we teach students how to use the latest film technology. We also cover set creation, lighting, editing, and production planning. Teaching the students by doing, less time on the streets and more time on the set. Giving students the opportunity to work with popular artists and public figures. Also partnering with CMAC Media Center to secure airtime for student projects.
Our brother and sister program will guarantee that they would have the support that they need on the set as well as off the set, being able to keep them encouraged, keep them focused, and doing the things that can keep their minds stimulated and moving in the right direction for positivity, no matter what category they're falling in.
And Hersey, you still have a minute remaining.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share visually as well as sound. This work has been done by our students, and I'm proud to say I wish I can put my name on that, but I can't because the younger guys, actually 18 years old, edit that whole scene there for us. And in this Dream Again project, we're teaching videography work. We're hoping that some of our kids could end up on Channel 30, 24, being a camera person. We're hoping that we can train someone to one day be our anchor person, learning how to do some news. We joke and laugh sometime about starting a project, and we call it Ghetto News, where we just young people having fun but understanding the power of media work. Thank you so much for our time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And the next speaker in the chamber is Laura Splotch. Laura, you may approach the microphone. You have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us speak today. My name is Laura Splotch. I am a member of the Save the Tower Demonstration Committee, and I am also on District 1's Review Committee. I am very impassioned about the Tower District, the Tower Theater in particular. We sat outside in the cold, in the heat, for 18 months to fight against the sale of the theater to a church, an evangelistic church. The owner of the theater brought Proud Boys out there, invited them himself, apparently they're close personal friends, and they came out and harassed us and doxed us, and we still have trauma over this. And I'm here to say it's like a slap in the face to have the city council, they made the deal, yay for them, but to put him in charge of running the theater was a slap in the face to us, all that fought for our neighborhood. He doesn't live here, he doesn't care about the theater, and I know this because I went behind enemy lines and did a show there for Halloween, and he took all of the door money, he took all of an extra amount of money. I don't know if the city ever saw any of the money. I didn't see any of the money. Some of my performers walked away without money after the show, but it was a really awesome show. So next time Eye Candy Entertainment has a show, come on out. But I just hope this, the Parks Commission and the City Council and the City of Fresno will stand up against the man that's running it now. Anybody else, well, almost anybody else would be a better choice than that person. So thank you for letting me talk. That was just all I had to say. Go Team Neville.
All right. Is there anyone else in the chamber that would like to address the commission? You have 3 minutes. All right. We have no additional hands in the chamber and no hands on Zoom.
Thank you, City Clerk. Does any member of the commission have any questions or comments regarding this item?
None regarding this item, but I did want to ask, since Commissioner or Dr. Apuda had mentioned a 90-minute break, I do believe we've hit our 90 minutes. Can we take a quick 5-minute break if possible?
Yes, we can take a quick 5-minute break before we start making budget recommendations.
All right, so it is 7:01, and we will resume then, Chair McCoy, at 7:05 or 7:06. All right.
I'm on mute. I'm hollering yes, but I didn't know I was on mute. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I live in the tower.
us all know.
All righty, I am ready.
All right, and we are back on the air.
All right. Are there any commissioners that would like to make a budget recommendation? Motion?
Chair McCoy, before we do that, could I ask a question of the park staff? A clarifying question?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This is with regards to the request that Director Michelle Ellis-Pricey asked. I just want to understand the relationship between the art museum and the art museum being a city-owned asset, and how would it work for us to make a recommendation to support improving security on that site?
Commissioner Parks, from my understanding, you could make a motion related to whether you wanted funding or not to tie funding to it related to the art museum and security. I don't think there would be any issue with that.
Okay, thank you.
So Commissioner Parks, just to kind of add to that, with that being a city facility, we do have responsibilities on some of the repair work. So if that's something you were worried about, we do have resources that do go in to make repairs. So I'm not sure if that helps or not.
And I would recommend, right, like not wording it in such a way of like granting the art museum money, just more generic to like, do X, Y, Z at the art museum.
Gotcha. Well, I guess I can start with this motion. So I would like to make a motion, and I also want to publicly mention I appreciate the comments about not wanting to have a community of fences. I hear that, I get that. So the way I want to word this is I would like to make a motion that the Parks Department budget to work with the Fresno Art Museum to improve security to prevent, damage and vandalism.
I would second that.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question, please? I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Yes.
I think it would be useful, since we're talking about budgetary recommendations, that we assign a dollar figure to what we're proposing. This is a budget, and if we don't have a specific recommendation on an allocation, I think it makes it pretty hard for staff to make a decision for us as to how much to allocate or recommend for allocation. So that's my suggestion as a commissioner. That came up at our last meeting where recommendations were being made without a dollar figure. And that's really not, I don't think it would not be a complete action on our part.
Thank you, Commissioner Barraza. Dr. Apuda, you have your hand up.
Yes, but not related to this issue.
Okay,
So I
thank
can
you.
wait.
Thank you. So, Christy, do I go back to Commissioner Parks for a dollar amount, or do we take a vote on the budget,
So
budget motion? Excuse me.
There's no requirement that dollar amounts be attached to any budget motion. So it's however the motion maker wants to make it.
And I think to Commissioner Parks, to your point, you may not have an idea of a dollar amount, right? Because we don't really know the breadth of what it is that needs to be addressed. So if there's not a dollar sign, then staff will do the homework and the due diligence to ensure that we understand the scope in terms of money.
Thank you for that comment. And Commissioner Barraza, I appreciate your comment as well. But that is the reason I didn't want to assign a dollar amount, because I think work needs to be done to figure out the best path forward for the city and for visitors to the art museum and the art museum staff. So I'd like for the Parks Department to do the homework necessary to figure out what that dollar amount should be in the budget. And then we'll see it in May when the budget comes to us.
And Commissioner Parks, would you mind repeating the motion? Because I think that you may have asked to direct park staff to do something, which we can't do. But you can make the recommendation that they work with the Fresno Art Museum. I know it's kind of a play on words, but it's just what is and is not within the authority of this commission.
Okay, so my motion is to recommend that park staff, maybe I'm saying it the way you just told me not to. So the motion is to recommend that the parks budget and park staff incorporate funding to improve security, working in collaboration with the Fresno Art Museum.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as the motion isn't directing park staff to do something, but instead recommending that that money be allocated for whatever it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Parks and Commissioner Cummings. City Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote?
Certainly. This is Commissioner Parks' motion, seconded by Commissioner Cummings, for the Parks budget to incorporate funding to improve security at the Fresno Art Museum. Commissioner Parks.
Hold on, there's a question on the dais, just before we start taking votes, sorry.
Yeah, I had thought that we were gonna first lay out all the budget recommendations.
That's right.
And then bring it back.
So you're allowed to have a conversation before the voting starts like this. So if we wanted to have a conversation particularly around, right, this topic, we would do it before we start voting. But you can vote on this and then open, the conversation about a different topic, and then vote and then open the conversation. It's just, you can't have the conversation in the middle of saying yes and no votes.
That's how I understood it.
Right.
So that's why I was doing it this way.
Yeah, correct. You just, once the actual comment period for a motion is closed and voting begins, it's either a yes or no or abstain, but you are not supposed to, basically explain why you're voting, whichever way you're voting.
Okay.
But once this vote goes through, then you can open up a new conversation about a whole nother recommendation.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I should have explained myself to the commissioners. I'm taking each motion, and then we have a conversation about each recommended motion, and then we take a vote on that motion and move on. That way we can remember, we don't have to revisit, and we can just move along in the meeting. So I do apologize. So do we have any questions about the motion that was made by Commissioner Parks and second by Commissioner Cummings? Okay, City Clerk, can you conduct the roll call vote, please?
There we go. Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza.
Yes.
Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Apuda.
Yes.
And Chair McCoy.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Dr. Apuda, you have your hand up.
I do. I have a comment that I'd love to hear from my colleagues about, and then I would like to make a motion. So we have a lot of organizations coming to us around funding. Sometimes it's not specific, the amount. Sometimes it's not clear to me whether their program fits under the measure. At the same time, I think it's important that these community organizations and others have an opportunity to request and, if appropriate, receive funding. So that's point number one. Point number two, we have had conversations about a process for applying for funding. So I I'm going to make a recommendation because I'd like to hear from you all before I make a motion, that we set aside a significant amount of money, create a process for organizations to then apply for those funds, so that the funds are set aside in the calendar year. And then throughout that time, people can apply for, and then whatever the process is, whether it's another subcommittee in collaboration with city staff, review those applications, and then are able to fund organizations. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'd love to hear you all's thoughts.
This is Scott Miller. I would second that. I think that there would be that it's very difficult to hear all these wonderful community organizations one after the other. And my personal reflex would be to vote yes for all of them, but a process with written applications, with money set aside, where we could take the proper amount of time to evaluate these requests individually, and that the request should have a specific ask with a specific dollar amount tied to it. I think it would be so helpful. So after saying all that, I would just like to say I would enthusiastically second that motion.
Was that a
Thank you,
motion?
Commissioner Miller. Commissioner.
No, he was just saying if the motion was made, he would have.
That's
Yeah.
not.
But
I was jumping ahead. But if it is a motion, I'd second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Barraza, you have your hand up.
Madam Chair, thank you. I believe that's an excellent observation, Dr. Apuda. I was thinking about the same thing, and I know how to say it. You said it well. There are projects, and I'm very impressed with the two that were presented today. But I think we also, as we live in the low-income communities, we know that there are other needs in other parts of the city that they may not have the groups as active as the groups we have in other parts of our city. And I think to give a fair chance to all groups to present their proposal and then select the most viable or the most beneficial to the community, I think is an excellent idea, so that the process is equally available to anyone that wants to come in with a proposal that qualifies for Measure P and the rules that we have to follow. So you haven't made a motion, but I would certainly support a motion in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cummings, you have your hand up. You have the floor.
Thank you. I would consider that this seems to be related perhaps to the possibility of funding the participatory budget engagement process that was presented by the Fresno Parks Advocates United. It seems from the materials that we were given that this is not something that would be a brand new sort of model to be used. This could be a model that could be used in Fresno for this particular measure, so that we would be gathering information from different neighborhoods on priorities from those neighborhoods themselves. So they had put forth a $5 million participatory budgeting engagement process where community members decide how to spend part of the public budget. That's my thought.
If I may, I really appreciate you bringing that up because I meant to speak to that and it slipped my mind. One of the things that became very clear to us in the, what was the committee we were on at the very beginning?
The outreach subcommittee.
Right. No, the one, but it was the name of the committee before it was the outreach.
The highest needs.
Highest needs,
okay.
Right. One of the things that became very clear to us, and it was like a light bulb moment, is that we as commissioners do not have the authority to recommend a specific project. And so the community budget process that you just talked about isn't going to work because the way our city's process is set up, it's not going to work from the commission on this level. However, I think you're absolutely right. If we set aside a dollar amount for people to apply for, I could see applying that process to that dollar amount. And Christy can help me if I'm on target with what I'm saying in terms of what is possible based on the way the city processes are set up.
Commissioner Puda, real quick before Christy chimes in, I heard you say something that I want to make sure we're working under the same assumption. So you had mentioned that in that subcommittee, right, that you understood that you all can't recommend projects. So I want to clarify.
A particular organization.
Right, okay, just
Thank
making
you.
sure we're all under you could recommend, right, to fund the dream, whatever project, but not giving that funding to a particular organization.
Right, thank you. But that is what I meant, but yeah, that is much clearer. Thank you. Yeah, so again, Commissioner Cummings, thank you. That was you, right? Yes.
Yeah. So Dr. Puda, I have a question. Even though there may be a recommendation made tonight to set a certain dollar amount aside for CBOs to be able to apply for funding for their projects, doesn't mean that they can't come to this commission during our meetings and present their projects, correct?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And we can still recommend to the council funding for those projects, even though there's a certain dollar amount set aside.
Yes, this doesn't preclude anything that has happened up to this point.
Okay, I just needed some clarification. Thank you.
And I really appreciate Commissioner Barraza's point, because that was part of what was resonating with me, is that there are small groups, organizations, informal groups that are doing the work all the time. And to give them the time and the understanding and training on how to seek these funds, I think would be really, really important. So I have another question that maybe city staff can help me with. You may not at this point. At the end of the calendar year, what kind of carryover did we have in this budget? Erin, I know you have that at the top of your head. You're smart like that.
Actually, TJ Miller, Assistant City Manager, and I support the Parks Department is one of the departments I support. The city is currently undergoing the mid-year process. So we have not quite hit that 6-month period for mid-year. So that process is launching in a couple weeks, and that'll probably be determined what our balances are for a citywide, roughly middle to end of January is when we would have that information.
Do you know the balance for last year? What was the carryover for last year?
We can get that for you. I do not have that at the top of my head.
Okay.
Question, do we know the total that was collected at the end of last year or at the end of the fiscal year? Wasn't it like a little bit over 70 million? Didn't it kind of double a little bit?
So I think some of the money that we're talking about, I think some of that, the 72, I think you're referring to the $72 million number, Chair McCoy?
Yes, yes.
I'd have to go back. I don't have that document for me. Let me see if I can pull it up, but I believe some of that had one-time money in it as well, so it may not be all the same pot of revenue that you're referring to. But let me see if I can pull it up. Thank you. I think that would kind of help if we could at least refresh our memories with the total that was collected from Measure P.
But I do expect that the Parks Department will come back to us once they have the mid-year total of the carryover, correct?
Just to kind of continue the conversation while they're getting those numbers, Dr. Puda, I wanted to ask for the funding that you will be recommending to be available to CBOs here in Fresno. I would like to make sure that we also recommend that the criteria be set by whether it's a subcommittee within the commission, or some sort of avenue for us to also decide, set the criteria for how or which CBOs or who the funding is made available to, just to make sure it is accessible to all, as Commissioner Barraza was saying.
I'm in absolute agreement with that, Commissioner Singh. Am I waiting for some potential numbers?
Aaron was looking up some numbers for us. I asked a question about how much was collected from Measure P in the first year. I believe it was 72. I believe it doubled what we projected that will be collected on a yearly basis. So kind of just give us a total idea of how much is collected a year. Don't know if it's going to be like that every year, that the funds are going to be collected like that, but at least we know this is what was collected the first year, just to refresh our memories. But while we're waiting for those numbers, if you would like to put your motion on the floor.
I have one more question that maybe Aaron or Aldi could answer. The budget, as you all have laid it out thus far, what is that budget total? Or is there one? There is.
No, we more
Okay.
looked at funding projects that were
Particular
started
project.
right in 23 that need to be continued in funding FY 24 because they are going to, go into construction or et cetera. And then I guess I just want to ask a question on the carryover question. Whatever was carryover was essentially put into our 23 budget. So when we present to you on our fiscal year 23 budget, and if you remember, there's a slide that goes, here's 23. Oh, and this includes carryover. So it's significantly higher than maybe what you might see without the carryover. So I caution you that if the question is coming up about carryover and being able to use it, that essentially that carryover is spoken for, right? Like we budgeted it in our fiscal year 23 budget.
At the same time, I'm hearing that budget, which of course you're waiting for some recommendations from us, is not solidified even on your end from what you wanted, what you are recommending to us. Is my question making sense?
Commissioner Opuda, are you referring to the fiscal 24 budget for parks? That they haven't started building that? They have not started building that FY 24 yet.
Okay.
This is one piece that helps them, along with another critical piece that occurs in the month of December, and that is the internal service funds. Think of our general services department, IT department, all of the internal supports, finance, personnel, risk. Those funds have to do what we call our internal service fund budgets in the month of December before the departments like parks can build their budgets. So this is a critical piece. The next piece with the ISF funds, that's what we refer to, the internal service funds. Those are both very critical pieces for parks to begin. So they have not yet started. They're not certain what their base is at this moment.
Okay. At this point then, I'm going to take a stab at this. I would like to recommend that $1 million be set aside for organizations to apply for funds for projects that fit within the scope of the measure, and that there be very specific guidelines and criteria set for who can apply for those funds and the maximum amount for which they can apply.
That's your motion, Dr. Apuda?
That's my motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second to Dr. Apuda's motion?
I still want to second it. This is Scott Miller.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. City Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote?
Before we start.
I think there needs to be discussion.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Parks.
Commissioner Apuda, I wonder if you would consider a friendly amendment to include language about either this commission or a subcommittee of this commission being directly involved in setting the guidelines and the criteria, just so we have that documented.
Absolutely. If that can please be added to the motion.
You got it.
Commissioner Miller, would you still like to second it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can I just have the motion repeated?
Certainly. For Commissioner Apuda's motion was for $1 million for organizations to apply for funds for projects that fit within the scope of the measure, and there be specific guidelines and criteria about who can apply for those funds and the maximum amount for which they could apply, and it will include a subcommittee of the commission to help develop those criteria.
We have a first and we have a second. Can you conduct roll call vote, City Clerk, please?
Certainly.
Madam Chair, can I ask a clarification question
Absolutely.
before we start the vote? I think it would also be important that the final recommendation would be made by the commission, even though there is a subcommittee participating in developing the criteria. But I think the final selection of what we recommend to the council should be the entire commission.
Dr. Apuda, are you willing to make that friendly amendment to your motion?
I do so amend, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller, are you still willing to second it?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Do we have any other questions before we take a roll call vote?
I guess I have a question. Of course, right, like the motion gets voted on, they pass, and then they're communicated to City Council. That's the workflow for this process. I guess I'm just not clear on Parks Department's authority, right, to include money to go out to CDOs. I don't know if that authority lies with council, et cetera. So I just want to put that out there so that when our budget goes forward, if that isn't allowed to be in our authority, that you aren't surprised, right? If it needs to be council authority to make that motion. And I don't know if Christy, you want to weigh in on the ordinance?
Yeah, so this is something that we would have to look into, because remember, when we're talking about Measure P, we're talking about different buckets that have different percentages, and this is all done very much on the back end to make sure that the budget is matching what the requirements of the measure are. And then the authority to award any funds will always sit with City Council. So what that process looks like moving forward, currently the way it works is if funds are allocated to something, a specific park or trails or whatever, once it's allocated in the budget, unless there's a reallocation of those funds to a different budgetary item in a different bucket, it doesn't currently come back to the commission. So I don't know how that works once those funds are allocated into, kind of a larger bucket, and what authority. It's just not something we've considered or looked at, so I wouldn't want to give any specific opinions about it currently. So you can make the recommendation. I don't know what it will look like going forward because we'll have to do some back end work to figure that out.
Thank you both.
So the motion still stands, correct? And the second? All right, can we do a roll call vote, please, City Clerk, finally?
Certainly. Commissioner Aputo's motion, seconded by Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza.
Yes.
Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Aputo.
Yes.
And Chair McCoy.
Yes.
7-0, that passes.
I have a question. In regards to the presentation that we seen from Dream Again, would that fall under the cultural arts bucket, correct? Because it's 3 different components to their project.
The grant guidelines aren't made, but I think it would be reasonable for one to make an assumption that it could fit appropriately in that.
In the cultural arts bucket, I'm sorry, you cut off.
Right, so depending what the guidelines are, and if one assumed that they met the guidelines, then it could be reasonable to think that it would be bucket 4.
And are we allowed to make recommendations under bucket 4 right now?
Not until the plan is done.
Correct, okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, and just to circle back on the questions about revenue, so the presentation that we just came to you with related to fiscal year 24 had a slide in there about fiscal year 23 revenue. So our fiscal year 23 revenue that we presented to you was a little bit over 74 million, which did include carryover from fiscal year 22. So to give you an idea, expenditure category 1 had about 33 million, including carryover. And without carryover, so just new FY23 revenue, that was a little over 26 million. So you can see in there was about, 8 million in carryover in that expenditure category. And then, for example, expenditure category 2 in our fiscal year 23 had 16 million. And without carryover, that was 12 million. So the revenues from 22 that we carried over, we put in our 23 budget and then appropriated those for projects, etc.
Thank you, Aldi. Do we have any other budget recommendations from commissioners?
Yeah, I would like to recommend that we allocate $250,000 to repurpose the softball field at JSK Park and to repurpose one of the 8 soccer fields at the regional sports complex into cricket fields. This would include the construction of a pitch, to remove some fencing at JSK Park, to add a net at the pond/basin side. This would be more than enough to complete the project. So, and I would like to also add this as a part of the recommendation that we work with the Cricket League leaders who are familiar with what requirements a field needs. And I can help, and the commission can definitely help in identifying who those leaders are.
I'll second that motion. Commissioner Parks.
Thank you. We have a motion. Commissioner Cummings?
Yes. Can we have a discussion?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So I was thinking along these lines as well, but I was thinking about what I had kind of heard about I was going to motion that there be the $250,000 in funding to support planning, design, and construction of facilities to support field hockey, cricket, and volleyball courts, kind of like all 3.
Commissioner Cummings, I actually was thinking we would I was going to make a motion to do an additional allocation specific to volleyball. I think it could be good, it could make sense to have them be distinct. So we have very specific dollar amounts in what we were presented for pickleball. We made a motion about soccer a couple of meetings ago, and I like the idea of having a specific amount for cricket, and then we can do in an additional motion tonight a specific amount for field hockey and a specific amount for volleyball, so that all of them are distinctly supported.
And the motion that we did for soccer was for the soccer and football communities, not just soccer.
Thank you for that correction.
The motion on the table now is specifically for JSK.
It is for JSK and for the regional sports complex that's on Jensen. And the reason I am asking that we don't bundle the three together is because we did so last time, and the Punjabi community, the Hmong community, all felt really unheard when nothing passed. So that is my kind of reasoning for why we separate all three and make sure that each one gets the recognition it deserves.
So my only concern with the current motion is just the two parks. Is that all we should be considering?
Those are the two parks that the Cricket League leaders have identified as being used the most day to day. They use JSK Park very much day to day. They use the regional sports complex for more tournament style because there are very many tournaments that cricket leagues hold here in Fresno. It's just right now they're using like makeshift courts rather than designated kind of fields. So those are the two top priorities for the cricket community at the moment.
Thank you.
Any additional questions, Commissioner Cummings?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Barraza, you have your hand up, and then I will get to you, Aldi, next.
No, I have a comment about something else, so I'll wait, Madam Chair.
Okay. Aldi, you have the floor.
Yeah, just two reminders. One is that you're not limited to Measure P, so keep that in mind for this round of recommendations before the budget comes out from the mayor. You can also recommend general fund. So that's one side note. And then the other is when making recommendations for like these capital projects, I just caution you on the phases. If you're gonna put a dollar sign to it, because it likely won't be enough money to get the project through fruition. So if we start a project, then we will move forward with finishing it and funding it accordingly. But I don't want you to be disappointed if you fund it with 200,000 through construction and we don't get through construction with 200,000 because we will need more money. So just wanted to throw that out there. So we're all working under the same assumptions.
Can you lay out an example, Aldi, of just the estimate cost of how much it is to start a project and finish a project? Maybe that would help with allocations.
Yeah, so just generically, it can range anywhere from like 50 to 150,000 for design of a project, right? Not specific to whatever sport or anything. And then construction really varies, but we're really not seeing much under $1 million these days.
And I think it's one thing to point out as well is construction is prevailing wage. A lot of times we'll see estimates that are missing prevailing wage that we are forced to pay. So oftentimes, as Aldi mentioned, those estimates do come in low and we aren't able to achieve the end result. In addition to that, there is some outreach components of it. And again, existing courts and fields will have probably some landscape reconfiguring to do with irrigation and things of that nature. So just some things to consider when we are putting numbers out there. So again, but prevailing wage is one of the big items that we tend to see as a hindrance when projects are thrown out there.
Yeah, that and environmental, right? That's something that usually we don't, isn't thrown out, but is something that comes in significantly high. So just caution you on dollar signs with phases. That's all.
So I have a question. How would you recommend that I word this motion instead?
Would you like to say it again? And then we can give you feedback?
Yeah, I had said I would like to recommend that $250,000 be allocated to repurpose the softball field at JSK Park and to repurpose one of the 8 soccer fields at the regional sports complex into cricket fields with, I guess, guidance from cricket league leaders here in Fresno.
I think that's generic enough to where you're not identifying a phase, right? You're not telling us to design it and construct it, et cetera, but it's generic. So we would, on a project like that, begin with, right, like Aaron mentioned, community outreach, environmental, because it would be a change of use, et cetera. And then as we need more funding for the project, we would have to go back and ask for it, but that's reasonable and something we do on essentially all of our projects.
Okay, then I would like to move forward with that motion, please, if no other commissioners have any questions.
And Commissioner Singh, just to add one more, actually maybe a question or statement. So the regional sports complex, you mentioned the 9 soccer fields that are there on the south end. Some of those do have light fixtures that run kind of north and south. I'm not sure how that would impact the cricket pitch. In your proposal, did you take a look at that? Has that been kind of considered in that proposal?
We had identified the southeast field.
Southeast, the far, okay.
The far right field.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Okay.
if we want to include that in the recommendation, I'd like to amend my recommendation to include that too, with consideration to the southeast field at the regional sports complex.
And I don't know if we have to get that specific, but good. I'm just glad you did look at that though.
Did we lose Chair McCoy?
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I was
there you
just, I'm right here. So do we have a second for Commissioner Singh's motion?
Yes, my second still stands.
Okay. City Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote, please?
I think Commissioner Barraza has his hand up currently. I don't know if it was just left up or he has a question.
No, I was waiting for the next motion, but I could turn it off and come back if you want me to.
I just want to make sure that all of the discussion was done before we started
Thank you.
voting.
Thank you very much.
All right.
City, yes.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Singh, second by Commissioner Parks regarding cricket fields. And Commissioner Parks,
Yes?
Commissioner Barraza,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Apuda,
Yes.
and Chair McCoy.
Yes.
7-0, that passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Barraza, you have your hand up. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, there are 2 vacant fields in Southeast Fresno. One is on Orangewood and Church, and the other one is at the 49-acre park site. And there are 2 soccer fields that are being proposed for that project at the Peach site. And I wanted to make a motion that we provide funding for 2 additional soccer fields, in as much as soccer continues to be the fastest growing sport in our city. And the demand also seems to be so great, is that we continue to target that need in the funding of Measure P. And so it could be either one of those 2 sites that are vacant, that are city-owned. So there's no need to buy land. The land is already available. So I wanted to make that motion.
And Commissioner Barraza, I just want to put this on the record because I know that previously you would have had a conflict on this item. I know that you said that you do not believe you do anymore. Our office has not had an opportunity to look in the change of status. So it would normally be our recommendation that you continue to claim a conflict, but I can't tell you not to move forward with your motion until we could actually look at the change of circumstance, which we have not been able to.
So he can't make the recommendation right now?
So I can't tell him he cannot. Yeah, it's up to his judgment whether he does or does not currently have a conflict.
And as I have disclosed earlier today, our organization used to have an agreement with the city of Fresno for the maintenance and upkeep of one of the parcels. We no longer have that agreement. And I recently am no longer the chair of this organization. So there's some changes that have occurred there. And I'll be happy to share all those details with our city attorney. But I kind of was following up on the thought that the soccer continues to be a very important sport, and this is an opportunity to address that need.
So your motion is on the floor, Commissioner Barraza?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I will second that motion. Do we have any discussion around that, around the motion before we take a roll call vote? Oh, Scott, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. I just wanted to provide some brief background on the church and Orangewood site. Currently, much of that future park site is occupied by a ponding basin. The city acquired that property from KB Home, and the basin still is required to serve the subdivision, the surrounding neighborhoods with drainage service. So the city will, we do own the property, and that is a planned park site, but we will not be able to eliminate, backfill the basin and make use of the full site without constructing. It's about 1/3 of a mile of storm drain pipe, flood control line, and that's to be built by a subdivision down the way at Jensen and Peach. That development has not gone forward yet. And that would be several $100,000 of storm drain construction required in order to make use of the church and Orangewood site. So just wanted to share that with the commission. Not impossible, but it is an added cost for making use of that site if we want to go ahead of that residential subdivision.
Thank you, Scott. Do we have any discussion around the motion on the floor? City Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Wait, sorry, I was just thinking.
I'm sorry, I can't see inside the chambers. You have the floor, Commissioner Singh.
You're good. Thank you, Chair McCoy. I wanted to ask, at the moment, how many proposed soccer fields are there at the 49-acre park that's to be built?
So Commissioner Singh, we have an outreach coming up with the community to determine what that may look like. So at this point in time, we're still working kind of through the community and the outreach to see what comes about with the community input process.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Parks, I can't see you. Do you have any questions around this motion on the floor?
Yeah, I appreciate Commissioner Barraza's comments about the changes in his role with the organization. I'm still just a little bit uncomfortable with the potential for a conflict of interest. And so my question is, because we did make a motion previously regarding soccer, is it possible that that could encompass the goals of what Commissioner Barraza is suggesting in this motion? Do we need a second? Do we need another one, I guess, is the question.
I will lean on Christy or Aldi to advise.
I don't know what the prior motion was, and I think that's more of a budget question, so I'll defer to Aldi.
Commissioner Parks, what was the previous motion? Because I am aware of 3 motions, but not ringing a bell about
I apologize, I don't have it here in front of me, but it was something to, it was a kind of a generic, didn't have a dollar amount, motion that parks
Oh, just for soccer
budget
and
for
football?
soccer and football courts and facility improvements.
I think it would be an opinion, but I don't know that Commissioner Barraza would agree. But in my opinion, it could be something that could fall into that category because it was done generically into that motion.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
So there was a previous motion made, which was sent to you all. All three of those motions that previously passed were sent to the commission. There's one that generically talks about soccer and football facilities and programming that passed in October. And so I believe Commissioner Parks was asking if, rather than doing the motion specifically to that park as you're talking about tonight, if that could be potentially part of that motion because it was generic enough to just say soccer. Commissioner Parks, correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm okay if I just wanted to make sure that the needs for more soccer facilities is addressed, and it was addressed in the motion, and thanks very much to the commission for addressing that. I don't have any problems if it would make the commission feel more comfortable. I can abstain of this particular item and allow the commission I mean, I think it would be a little bit unfair if I'm excluded from all conversations dealing with soccer, because we all have interest in some specific areas, the arts, the certain sports.
It's not soccer. It's not soccer generically, because you voted on the last motion related to soccer. It's just related to that property because city attorney hasn't had an opportunity to review documentation that you mentioned tonight related to your affiliation with the organization.
Okay. I'm okay with withdrawing the motion if that's a concern.
All right, so the motion is withdrawn.
Yes, I mean, obviously, that does not exclude anyone else of making a similar motion. As we're talking, as we did for cricket, or we are going to probably do one for volleyball. Hopefully there'll be something that will happen in the area of soccer, the way we.
So I just have to caution you, Commissioner Barraza, if you are going to withdraw the motion because of a potential conflict, you can't then request that somebody else make the motion for you. Somebody else can on their own volition, but we have to basically exclude you from the conversation of the 49-acre park if you're going to claim a conflict.
No, I'm not claiming a conflict. I already said that based on the changes that occurred, in my opinion, there's no conflict. That's my position, but I'm also willing to work to make sure we do the right thing.
So just to be clear, the motion is still on the floor.
Yeah, if it's interpreted that I'm withdrawing the motion, okay, to simplify it, yes, I'll keep the motion and I'll ask the commission to decide whatever you may wish to decide.
All right, do we have any more discussion around this motion? City Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. This is a motion by Commissioner Barraza, seconded by Chair McCoy regarding the soccer fields. Commissioner Parks.
Abstain.
Commissioner Barraza.
Yes.
Commissioner Singh.
Can you repeat the motion?
Commissioner Barraza, I did not quite type this one down with the accuracy. I was going to listen to the tape again. Can I trouble you to restate your motion for Commissioner Singh?
I make a motion that funding consideration be made of 2 additional soccer fields at either the Greenwood and Church site or the 49-acre park site One is located on Peach Avenue, the other one on Church and Greenwood.
And sorry, just to confirm, we are still awaiting community input for the 49-acre park as director said so, right, Todd? Am I remembering?
Yes, but I also, if I may, Madam Chair, the Parks Department has received a master plan that has all the proposed uses for the site, and there have been extensive community meetings in discussions about what that plan contains, and that was submitted to the city as a recommendation of many nonprofit organizations that participated in the process.
I will vote to abstain.
Commissioner Cummings?
I'm going to vote no for now.
Commissioner Miller?
I'm a no at this point as well, for some of the reasons other people have voiced.
Commissioner Apuda?
Yes.
And Chair McCoy?
Yes.
So that motion will actually fail. It's 3-2, but we have to include the abstains for our quorum, and so we do not have a majority in favor when we consider our quorum. So that motion fails.
Thank you. Thank you. Aldi, earlier in the meeting, you made a statement saying that we don't just have to fund from Measure P funding. We can allocate funding from the general fund.
You can make recommendations.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, Measure P and general fund, yes.
Thank you. All right, I would like to make a budget recommendation from the general fund. I would like to recommend that 2.5 million be recommended to the MLK Park at West Creek Village Development Project area. And that's my motion.
Is this the nonprofit establishment piece of it?
Yes, this is the project that was presented by Sylvester Hall.
Okay.
Chair McCoy.
I will second that motion.
Sorry.
I will second
that motion.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Parks?
So in the information that we received, and then some of what we heard today, I think there are actually, my understanding is there's two pieces. So there's the nonprofit center, and then there's the museum, and then there's the park. Is your motion specific to the nonprofit center?
Or the park?
Or the park?
For the park, yes.
She said for, not or.
I know there's different components, but the park will be the one that will fall under the Measure P. From my understanding, we're not allowed to allocate or make recommendations from bucket 4 for the cultural arts plan portion of Measure P until that plan is done. So that's why I'm recommending it just for the park, if that makes sense.
It does, and I apologize for my lack of clarity on this. There's the park, which has a grant, and there's work happening to develop the park, and then there are future phases of park improvements that the community wants to see. And then there's an actual building, right? Like a building that will house the nonprofits. And I sort of see those as two separate projects.
Right. Some of the materials say West Creek Village Development Nonprofit Facilities.
And then there's the actual park.
Yes.
Commissioner Parks, it's easy to think of, say there's a circle or a teardrop, and there's park, and then there are two parcels on either side of the teardrop. that are part of the development that are not city-owned. And then the park, the 10-acre park in the middle of those two parcels is city-owned. That's a 10-acre park and that is city-owned. So maybe just have Chair McCoy clarify which parcels, whether it's the city-owned parcel or the one of the two or the two non-city-owned parcels.
So from my understanding, the park is sitting on the city's own parcels, correct? So that's what my recommendation is for.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. So do I have a second?
Yes, I second it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barraza. Do we have any discussion around the motion on the floor before we take a vote? City Clerk, can
I'll
yes.
say one thing. So is it for the construction of the park itself and everything related to the actual park that's city-owned property?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions around the motion on the floor? City Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote?
Certainly. Motion by Chair McCoy, second by Commissioner Barraza, for general fund dollars, 2.5 million allocated for MLK Park at West Creek Park Development Area. Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza.
Yes.
Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Apuda.
Yes.
And Chair McCoy.
Yes.
That recommendation passes 7-0.
Thank you. Aldi, I have another question because I would like to make another recommendation. Am I able to recommend funding from the general fund for the DREAM Act project that was presented to us tonight?
Ooh, that would be I would ask for legal's advice. So we've been so focused on Measure P related to giving money out. I would want to ask for advice on how that would not be a gift of public funds.
Yeah, so again, when we're talking about specific organizations, we have a process that we have to go through to be able to award funding. So I don't know if the motion needs to be more generic for kind of like what they do and funding for that type of program. And then if it gets allocated, then having an RFP process that they could apply to, or if they went through the process and were determined to be, uniquely qualified, then we could follow that. But I don't know that it's proper to try to make a recommendation for a specific organization.
Okay, so it's not recommended. That's what you're saying right now?
Correct. Yeah. If you wanted to make a recommendation for funding for the type of work that they do, then that might be a better motion that the city staff and administration could actually follow through with.
Can I have some sample language, please, Aldi?
Yeah, so for example, right, if Aaron's landscape business is in the business of mowing lawns, right, and I really want to give the money to him, but I don't want it to be a gift of public funds, a more appropriate way to do that would be to, I would recommend X amount of funding for landscape and mowing services, right? And then city staff on our end would have the ability, right, to implement a public community transparent process. So where people would bid on it, et cetera, to make sure that everybody has a fair and equitable chance rather than giving it to a specific organization. So more generic to what it is that they're doing rather than their organization name.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Apuda, you have your hand up.
I do. I just wonder if this might be helpful in terms of considering your motion being for youth-focused organizations that work with young people related to music, film, scripts, plays, etc., and dance. Those were the things they said they did.
Okay, so I would like to make a recommendation from the general. Christy, you were getting ready to say something. I can see it.
She's trying to
I'm like trying to get my Zoom back up because I'm going back and forth between typing out motions and answering questions, but you don't have to be specific as to the funding necessarily. So
Okay.
if you just want to make a motion for funding, then, you know, that again can be figured out on the back end, whether
Okay.
it would be general fund or Measure P.
Thank you. Dr. Apuda, please let me know if I leave anything out of this motion, please. But I would like to recommend funding for dance, video, programming. I'm stuck on the wording.
I would suggest you consider a youth program.
Okay, a youth program.
Can we do this like this? Okay, a
Thank
youth
you.
program
A
that
youth
provides
program that provides
music, film, plays, and dance training.
that
to
provides
Fresno
music,
youth.
plays, dance, and training to Fresno youth. I think I got it. Thank you for your help, Dr. Apuda. Commissioner Cummings, you have your hand up.
I find that sometimes the word youth limits the opportunity to help some of those in our community. I don't know if that's a defined, top limit to that. I would like it if we could expand it to something more generic, young persons, or something that would allow for some flexibility that you don't have to be, a child in the program.
Youth and young adults?
There we go.
Okay.
I would be
I was gonna
more
say
comfortable
you-
with that. Just so it's more inclusive.
Well, I'm open to the friendly amendment, so youth and young adults. And that's my motion. I hope it was captured so I don't have to repeat it again.
I think we got a good hold on it.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you. Any more discussion before we take a roll call vote? City Clerk, would you please take a roll call vote?
Motion by Chair McCoy, second by Commissioner Singh for a recommendation for funding for youth and young adult programs that provides music, film, play, and dance training to Fresno residents. Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Braza,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
I think we lost him.
Nope. Did we lose Commissioner Miller? Yeah, I'm checking the list real quick. Yes. All right. Commissioner Miller is absent. Commissioner Apuda
Yes.
and Chair McCoy.
Yes.
That passes 6-0.
Thank you. Do we have any other budget recommendation motions by any of our commissioners tonight?
Chair McCoy, this is Commissioner Parks. I would like to make a budget recommendation that at least, or a minimum of $250,000 be budgeted for volleyball courts, outreach and design at Vinland Park and other parks as informed by community input.
I will second that. Commissioner Cummings, your hand is up. Do you have questions about the motion that was just made? You're on mute. No? Okay.
I don't. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Any other questions about the motion on the floor before we take a vote? City Clerk, would you please take roll call vote?
Did I hear someone chiming in? Nope. Okay. This is a motion by Commissioner Parks, second by Chair McCoy regarding volleyball. Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Braza,
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Did you call my name?
yes, we're doing the roll call vote on the volleyball motion by Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller, still absent. Commissioner Apuda,
Yes.
and Chair McCoy.
Yes.
6-0, that passes.
Commissioner Cummings, did you have a question or a recommendation? You're on mute.
I'm going to make a motion.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. I want to have a conversation with Director Aguirre quickly. It's about the funding that's made available to the parks for to host community events at each park. And I know that you had done the fee study, and obviously we had the park and condition assessments. And my understanding is that the park staff annual budget for hosting community events at each site is $2,000. Is that accurate?
What was the dollar amount?
2,000. I was informed about that. I guess my concern is that it seems it should be a little higher, and I don't know if you're familiar enough with each of the parks that receives this kind of budget. It seems that they would need a little bit more money in 2024 than the $2,000 allotted to them. There was a suggestion of bumping that to actually 10,000, but I'm thinking that at least we could propose something to increase that amount of money for each park to be able to host those community events.
Yeah, and I don't know if the $2,000 number is accurate that you were given. And I don't know where you got that from, but each area has their own operating budget for those type of activities, and it definitely exceeds $2,000 per site. So it's that
For
number
hosting.
is
Okay, for hosting
Right.
community events.
so community events. Are you like a special event? Are you talking like a Halloween type of event?
Uh-huh.
Right, that comes out of their operating budget. So they have operating budgets for various camps, various activities, various community events. So it is greater than $2,000.
So there hasn't been a need identified to increase that budget?
No, there has not been by staff, or is that who you're referring to?
Yes.
No, there has not been. And again, each area has the area models that we've identified, the 4 areas. Each have actually increased amounts over the last few years for those activities. As we've expanded services and enhanced services, those numbers have gone up. So I'm not quite sure where the $2,000 number came from.
Okay.
But we have not, I don't recall seeing a number that low.
It did come from the Parks Advocate information that we received at some point. So that's where I picked that up. It was one of their detailed recommendations on what they suggested. And it seemed that if it was indeed $2,000 a site, it didn't seem adequate for where we are today.
No, so that would be with 18 sites, 36,000 for the entire year for a parks department this size, and that number is inaccurate. So
okay.
Often, Commissioner Cummings, too, it's rolled up into the program, so it's not oftentimes broken out like this site gets this amount for community events, because it's like we changed our model to run based off programming, and then we have the operational areas. So it's not as easy to just look at it and know this is what that one site gets, because it might get hit by senior programming, by after school programming, etc.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that because I didn't want them, not being able to do their proper outreach and be able to invite the community to those sites. Another question, have we made any recommendations specifically for field hockey yet? I know that we've discussed cricket and put forward that motion, and volleyball.
Not to my understanding, Commissioner Cummings, we haven't made any recommendations for field hockey.
Okay, I wonder if any of my other commissioners would be interested in formulating a
Well, I wonder if it should be, it's been on my mind to bring it up as the next thing. So I'm wondering, since we've done 250K for cricket, 250K for volleyball, I would make a budget recommendation to budget 250,000 for planning and design for field hockey.
I think that's a good, so let's, okay, I'd like to make a motion that the City Parks 2024 budget designate $250,000 in funding to support planning, design, and construction of facilities to support field hockey.
I would add an amendment
Friendly.
with consultation of field hockey leaders or something like that within our community.
That's perfect.
And Commissioner Cummings, remember just the phases. So just don't be disappointed if that amount doesn't fund us through construction. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'll ask for more. Thank you. So that's perfect. This will get us started.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, I'm doing double duty, feeding my son and doing the commission. Do we have any conversation around the motion on the floor? City Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Certainly, this is a motion by Commissioner Cummings, seconded by Commissioner Parks for $250,000 for field hockey for planning and design and construction with consultation of field hockey leaders in the community. And Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Commissioner Braza.
Yes.
Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller is not with us. Commissioner Apuda.
Yes.
And Chair McCoy.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioner Barraza, you have your hand up. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question regarding the $300,000 that are appropriated in the current city budget. How much of that has been expended? And the purpose for that was to waive fees of low-income individuals, which I think is a very good allocation. And I was even thinking about asking for more to be allocated. However, it makes it hard to justify an increase when the current allocation, I believe, hasn't been expended. So my first question is, how much has been expended? And number two, if it doesn't get expended, can it be carried over for the next year? Because poverty and low income continues to be a very serious problem in our communities. And there are people that cannot afford the fees charged by our city. Therefore, what's the status of that? And how do we make sure that that allocation continues to be included in the budget for the Parks Department?
So Commissioner Barraza, without going into Brown Act violations, I believe this item is focused on fiscal year 24, but no money has been expended. You're correct, related to the $300,000 for the youth fee waiver program, if that's what you're referencing. And that money will be carried over. Whatever amount is not used, if it's not all used this year, it will be carried over. So there's no worry about losing that. So if you'd like to make a motion related to additional funding, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah, actually, I would like to double that amount, and I'd like to make a motion if we could double that amount. And I really strongly recommend that it be a higher priority for implementation as soon as that funding gets approved, because I believe a lot of folks need that funding.
Yeah, we agree. It is a high priority, but it has to be developed in the appropriate manner, right? And we have the administration and city council. So it is underway in terms of development. And as soon as we have something to share, we will be back to the commission to share.
I will second that motion.
I couldn't hear. I'm sorry.
I just said I would second that motion.
Okay. Do we have any discussion around the motion? Commissioner Barraza, you have your hand up. Are you fine or you have
I'm
something
sorry.
else to say? It's
I'm
okay.
sorry. My bad.
City Clerk, can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Certainly, this is additional funding for fee waivers by Commissioner Barraza, seconded by Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Apuda,
Yeah.
and Chair McCoy.
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-0.
Thank you, City Clerk. Do we have any other budget recommendation motions by commissioners tonight?
Sorry, I
Inside the,
sorry.
go ahead, Commissioner Singh.
I wanted to ask how much, so I know that Measure P also includes funds to, I guess, the bike lanes and trails, but what about the streets surrounding or around our parks, like the direct perimeter? Is there a possibility to use, whether it's Measure P funding or general funding, to increase the safety of access to our parks, such as adding, whether it's a stop sign or doing even like a study, what do you call them, like a traffic study to see if a stop sign can be implemented? Is that a possibility with these funds?
So I'm going to defer to Scott Mosier, just because I think he's more familiar with the section of Measure P regarding the safe biking trails and what would actually qualify for that. Because outside of Measure P, this is one of those kind of weird things where stop signs around parks would not necessarily be a Parks Department budget item, and so it wouldn't be proper for a recommendation unless it's a Measure P recommendation.
Commissioner Scott Mosier, Public Works. So as far as evaluation of intersections around city parks as to whether they would need a warrant for installing stop signs, we do have staff who are funded outside of Measure P. They're actually funded in part through the general fund and in part through Measure C, the transportation sales tax measure. So if there are any requests as Public Works, we'd certainly encourage those be either submitted to us. We can receive those either by way of commissioner requests through the Fresno app, 311 calls, or email to myself is also fine. In terms of installation, if it's only stop signs, that's really not a significant budget issue. Typically, we can install for just in the range of several $100s, unless we have some ADA ramp issues. It's really not that significant of an item. In terms of bucket 5 of the program, that is the safe walking and biking trails, that provides funding either for a Class 1 trail, which is an off-street two-way walking and biking path, similar to, let's say, Mackenzie Trail. There are trails planned in Southwest. There are existing trails in Central and North Fresno. Or a Class 4, that is a protected bike lane. In the budget does include some projects for that. However, back to the initial request about stop signs and such around parks or crosswalks, our staff would certainly be able to conduct those studies.
So we should bring those types of requests to Public Works.
Absolutely, we'd be glad to handle those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And one more question: what about tree? Not removal, but I guess moving and putting it elsewhere. So like rehabilitation. There is and we had kind of voiced this earlier in the year when the mural at JSK Park, which, by the way, whoever hasn't seen it should really go see. It's really cool. There's one tree that kind of, it's still small, so I would like that this be addressed sooner than later, but there's a small tree that is planted in front of the mural that we are requesting be moved just slightly to the left at JSK Park in front of the mural. Is this something that I should be requesting within the budget, or is it just something that we request to Public Works or the Parks Department?
So Commissioner Singh, I know what tree you're referring to. That's something we can work with Scott and his team on. The only fear is if we start moving the trees too far to the left or right, they start growing into the other trees nearby, which then have an impact, long-term impact. So we can work with you and see maybe what can be done. But that would be my caution is if we start moving too close to one another, they may start growing into one another and having long-term effects.
Yeah, that's understandable, but there's an empty lot that I'm kind of foreseeing that we could possibly move it towards. And yeah, I'll definitely just connect with you probably later.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other motions on the floor? Or any recommendations?
Chair McCoy, this is Commissioner Parks. One final recommendation that I've been thinking about. I spent some time today reviewing the list of community requests that we looked at back in May when we were going through the process for fiscal year 23. And one of the topics that came up a fair amount was increasing the availability of community centers for cooling and warming centers, and increasing or improving the outreach related to that so that more people are aware of when those people who need them are aware of when they're available. So I want to take a stab at a recommendation. I don't know if it would be Measure P or General Fund, and it sounds like the park staff can kind of look at that. So my recommendation is to budget for increasing availability of warming and cooling centers and increasing outreach for warming and cooling centers in the community centers in the Parks Department.
I will second that. Aaron, you have your hand up. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair McCoy. Commissioner Parks, there was a resolution that was recently adopted by Council on September 29th that increases the footprint of those warming and cooling centers. So you remember last year we had Ted C. Wills was our site for warming and cooling. Now we've expanded to 3 additional sites, and there's language already in there that we would look at potential sites for future expansion. And does talk about the hours. I know the cooling centers, those hours have been extended. So I'm not sure if you've seen the ordinance, but some of that may be addressed in that.
I had not, but that's great news. I'm sorry that I wasn't up to speed on that. Does it hurt anything to include it in these recommendations, or do you think it's unnecessary?
I think No, I think you can still make your motion. I just wanted to point out that some of that has been looked at, but I think your motion can still be made. And if there's any opportunity to expand beyond what we have, I think your motion would support that.
Does the resolution address outreach for the warming and cooling centers? I know there have been several members of the public that have specifically mentioned, people may not have access to social media, and so perhaps like flyers posted in parks, maybe on buses and other things would be beneficial.
Yeah, so one thing that's changed in that ordinance, specifically for the cooling centers, if you remember, we would give notice 24 hours in advance. Now that's 72 hours in advance to our residents. So that outreach, in addition to that, we continue to put up yard signs at our parks as well as banners, letting folks know when centers are open. And that's something that we are looking at expanding upon as well, and not just at our centers, but other locations.
That's great. Thank you so much for that follow-up information.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions regarding the motion? All right, City Clerk, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. This is a motion on the cooling and warming centers by Commissioner Parks, second by Chair McCoy. Commissioner Parks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barraza.
We lost Commissioner Barraza.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
We lost Commissioner Miller.
Oh, that's right. Commissioner Apuda.
You're on mute, Dr. Apuda.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Chair McCoy.
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Can't lose any more, or we'll lose a quorum.
And Todd, can you quickly repeat what that motion was for me? I missed it, so I didn't get to take my notes.
No, and if you wouldn't mind, Commissioner Parks, I don't have my detailed notes on this one yet.
So the motion was to recommend budgeting for increasing the availability of warming and cooling centers and increasing the level of outreach for when the warming and cooling centers will be open.
And that matches my chicken scratch.
Oh, good.
All right, do we have any other budget recommendation motions the commissioners would like to make tonight? All right, well, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:37 p.m. Thank you guys for hanging in there, and thank you for all the good budget recommendation motions. And you guys have a good Thanksgiving, and see you next month. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yes, happy Indigenous Peoples Day.